Great, thank you. You can hear me?
We can, yep.
Excellent. Okay, so I want to, so as I said, my name is Brian Wagner. I do a podcast, so communication is super important to me. To convey a message, speaking to interviewees, and kind of getting their story across. So that's why communication, I thought this would be a great topic for me to cover. There's a couple, I don't have a slide for this, and I apologize. There's a couple terms that I just kind of want to cover that you're going to see throughout the presentation, just so, because I know everybody's probably on different levels, just so everybody kind of knows, is familiar with them, because we'll talk about them during the presentation. So a stakeholder is anybody involved in the project. They could be anybody that's related or that you think is related. A sender is the sender of communications. He or she encodes the message. The encode is the translating of thoughts into a message, taking an idea and putting it into a message. The message is what is sent to a receiver. The medium is a way a message is transmitted. It could be through voice, writing, emails, etc. The receiver is the one who takes the content, the message, and decodes it. And then decode is taking the message and translating it into a useful and idea that is relatable to what the sender was sending out. So I think those are the kind of the key terms that I'm going to be using. I just wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page with that. So to begin with, so communications is the exchange of information intended or involuntary. The message can be relayed verbal, nonverbal, written in many ways. So we could be communicating if we know it or not. So that's why this is such a, they say it's a simple concept, communications, but it is something that we need to kind of work on. It's simple, but it's important. And the great thing is that every day we get the opportunity to keep practicing it. Like me doing this right now, I'm practicing communications and trying to convey this presentation to you guys in a meaningful way. So project managers spend 90% of their time communicating. So as you can see from the chart, 90% is big. So that's why this is super important. And it could be done voluntarily and involuntarily. So there's a lot of things that's being conveyed. If you're taking the PMP exam or you're studying for it, usually you see that it's a question, the percentage, just because it's such a big point that they really tried to drive home. Okay, there are two big parts to communication management. One is the strategy, and then the other is the action. So the strategy is the planning that you're doing for a project. So one of the things, I'm going to say this a few times just because it's important and you really need to grasp it, is that when you're doing communication management, this is for a very big project that you're working on. This could be a team of 300 people. This could be people in different countries. So it's super important to kind of really grasp that this is for a huge project and different time zones and all that, where if you have a small team of 4 or 5 people, maybe your communications management is very small and it's very simple to put together. So I worked on a project where we did our communications plan, and it took over a month to do it. So it wasn't the only thing we worked on in that month, but this was something that was iterative, where we kept adding to it. So we worked on the plan, but we worked on other things as well. It's just to kind of give you an idea that, I mean, it could take, you could take as small as a week, but it could take as long as 6 months. So the project I worked on was a month that we worked on this, and that entailed getting the stakeholders information. We had teams in Eastern Europe, Midwest. We were located on the East Coast. The client was on the West Coast. So there was a lot of things that we needed to account for. We needed to account for time changes, time zones, holidays, cultural differences in operations, days off, tech environment. So when you're doing a strategy, all these things have to be thought of and implemented when you're coming up with this. Stakeholder registry, which is excellent, which I will get to later, some of the details that should be put into that. are really super important to know who you're working with and the things that they need. Action is also important too. So when you're doing a communications management plan, it's not passive. This is a proactive. You need to make sure that stakeholders are getting the information that they need correctly. If changes need to be made, if people are changed, that needs to be addressed. So there's a lot of things going on that you need to be very active with this. So these are the three processes for communication management. There's the planning, there's the manage, and there's the monitor of it. These are, the planning is based on information that each stakeholder group needs for the assets of it. So this would be the month project that we worked on, coming up with this plan and making updates to it. So it was everything that we need to provide. Everything was accounted for, any issues that could come up. And the reason why it takes a month is you have to reach out to all those stakeholders. It takes time for them to maybe get back to you. There is to find out who is a stakeholder. You have to ask a stakeholder if somebody else is necessary to be on this. So all those things need to be worked out, and that's what would take so long. The managing is the act of making sure that the information is sent timely, it's distributed, it's created, all that action part of it, and that is all based on the plan that you came up with and created. So there shouldn't be any surprises, and even if there are surprises, you should plan for it, which is super important. And then the monitoring of it is ensuring that the information is going and it's consistently the needs are met for stakeholders. If changes need to be made, that's the place where it'll be made because you'll see it through the monitoring. And you will when you do make updates, you should make updates to your communications plan. So in the future, it could be used again. And that's a great part of it too, is that when you are making this plan, you can go back to historical documents that you made before within the company and use similar ones. So the one that I said that took a month, we used a lot of older assets from the company, which kind of helped and probably cut down the time. It probably could have been close to maybe 2 months if we didn't have those documents already. That really kind of gave us a head start. Something to, what do we got? So one thing there's always got to remember too is the 5 C's. Does everybody know what the 5 C's are? Just grab my notes. The 5 C's are something that you can always kind of fall back on and rely. It's the clear, consistent, credible, confident, and concise. So these 5 C's are really great. Fallback. I've seen 7 C's as well, but 5 is kind of usually the base or the core that's used. And these 5 are really great guides and words to live by when creating a plan. And once again, they are clear, so a clear message, what you're trying to say. Consistent, so consistent how you are operating throughout your communications in your project. Credibility, so be truthful, be transparent, be credible. You want to build trust, so you want to make sure that the information that you're sending is reliable, and when people see it, they do realize that this is something that they do need, and they don't disregard it because there's many errors on it. So these are all important things. Confidence, you want to be confident with your communications and the information that you send. You want to know the facts and present them well. You want to really bring a sense of purpose and commitment to what you're really kind of delivering, and be concise. So focus on your message. Don't try, this isn't a novel that you're sending, so you don't need like a lot of flowery language. You want to be very clear and straight to the point. Hopefully that's what I'm doing. I'm being straight to the point. So you want to be really clear with that when you send your message.